All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to the September 10th Elkhart Community Schools Public Work Session. With that said, we'll call the work session to order. Dr. Huff, the podium is yours.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, community. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about reimagining our middle schools. But before we even get into that, I want to, one, have you look at the screen and look at, I'm showing a picture of our high school, our last year, our graduation. There was a lot of work that was done in the feasibility study, and I will go into that and some of the recommendations that were made from that committee from a few years ago, and it's time to take some action on those in this phase one of reimagining our schools. All students will be lines that will go across the high school stage. That's why I intentionally chose that picture there. We are going to be very proud of all our kids. There's going to be a lot of things that need to occur over the next several years when we talk about reimagining our schools, but the payoff will be worth it. So I wanted to just share with the board tonight that I look forward to in this work session, revisiting the feasibility study, one, looking at some of the recommendations that were based by those committee members, and then two, sending you some recommendations tonight that you will take action on potentially in this work session, and then also answer any questions that you have. But the end goal is to create the best lines that we have in this and become the best school district in the state of Indiana. Can I use a clicker or which? All right, so one of the things that we also talked about is preparing to pack. In 2022, ECS launched a feasibility study to deeply understand the strengths and the challenges within our middle schools. Middle school wasn't the only thing that the feasibility study looked at, but for tonight's meeting, we're specifically talking about middle school transformation. This just wasn't an internal exercise. We sought input from parents, teachers, and community members to ensure we get a current picture of our reality. The purpose was twofold. First, to identify key areas where we are succeeding, and second, to uncover areas where we can improve with a particular focus on grade level configurations, building utilizations, and demographic trends. Time again, the theme from that feasibility study, from what I understand, was the need for updating the middle school structure that provides both academic rigor and support for our students to make that transition from elementary school. Through this effort from that key committee, we were able to gather critical insights that now shape the recommendations I will come with you today. I confidently say that these recommendations weren't taken easily, and that the committee spent countless hours debating on what would be the best path forward and what our schools could potentially look like. One of the criteria was that you wanted the new superintendent to get on that hot seat and make the final recommendation. So I'm gladly up here to make those recommendations to you here tonight. But the ultimate goal is, again, is always to know the Elkhart every child by name, but also to make sure that we have a thriving school system for our students. I don't like this way this is. Oh, there we are. All right. This is weird quoting yourself, but somebody asked me this down in Indy the other day, and I said, our community insights have been a cornerstone in shaping the vision of our schools and creating a shared path towards excellence for all students. When I say all students in Elkhart Community Schools, I mean all students. We have high expectations for every student who are in our doors. But before we begin, I want to also give a huge shout out to those 40 plus members of the key committee. From what I understand, the key committee played a critical role in the feasibility study. This diverse group of individuals comprised, again, of parents, educators, district administrators, and leaders from our local business community truly embodied the spirit of collaboration that defines Elkhart Community Schools. Each of them brought their time, talent, wisdom, and expertise to the table, offering invaluable insights that will help to shape the future of our schools for years to come. Their commitment to this process, sacrificing time away from their families and busy schedules, speaks volumes about their dedication and commitment to strengthen our school community. So I do think it would be remiss not to thank those members for all their hard work from a few years ago. But there are people who weren't around when the feasibility study was conducted a few years ago. So I think due diligence, we need to remind them why we did that work here in Elkhart Community Schools. And the purpose of a feasibility study, it had clear objectives to provide a foundation for everything we're discussing this evening. First, the committee analyzed the current state of our school buildings, evaluated how well our facilities are being utilized, and identified areas that need to upgrade to meet modern educational standards. Next, they explored various grade level configurations. This was crucial because transitioning from a 6 to 8 middle school, from a K through 6 elementary school, and a 7 and 8 middle school, basically a junior high model, does not come without a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail. But this is an opportunity of promise that we have to be able to reimagine what our schools could and should look like during this time. You also assess the demographic trends, looking at the shifts in our population and housing developments to ensure that we were preparing for growth in our district, but also facing the current realities that are impacting our school district. And lastly, it would be remiss if we didn't identify cost-saving opportunities that will allow us to not only reinvest in our students by making sure that they have what they matters most: access to high-quality teaching, access to high-quality learning environments, and opportunities for student support. These 4 pillars, facilities, grade levels, demographics, and financial stability, form the backbone of this study that was taken back in over the course of that year-long endeavor of 2022 to 2023. And feel free to stop me along the way if you want me to answer any questions that you may have. Out of the 231 pages that I read this week about the feasibility study, just to remind, y'all were supposed to laugh at that, but that's okay. The feasibility study was a very comprehensive document with a lot of ideas and a lot of notes and details. And for tonight, again, is we're only talking about middle school, I wanted to share these were the key things that came out of that group's recommendations. When they first analyzed the current state of school building, they evaluated how the facilities are being utilized and the areas that needed upgrades and so forth. The key thing that came was that we needed to transition to a 6 through 8 middle school model. That was overwhelming. When I looked at the data points, I was like 92% of the people were in agreement that needed to occur. Something else that came out of there, second, heard loud and clear that the facilities needed to be updated a little bit. That our middle schools need to be much more inviting if we are shifting our 5th and soon to be not 5th grade. I don't want to confuse anybody. But I want to make sure as we shift our 6th graders into middle school that they definitely are into an environment that is welcoming and also that is developmentally appropriate for them to be in. Research has proven time and time again, kids tend to thrive better in 6 to 8 learning environments opposed to what we have currently set up. If you want to find a little bit more research, I'll be glad to share with you that research after this board presentation. Another recommendation is improving operational efficiency by streamlining services and resources. Right now, the way things are currently configured, spread very thin across the school districts in order to make sure that our kids have access to high quality programming like Project Lead the Way, other STEM-based courses, and also things that are going to be coming up in the future that you will be voting on this evening. Is best to have that grade level of students together to help them not only prepare for high school, but post-secondary success. As you can see on the screen, it also talked about improving operational efficiency, which I talked about. But one of the things that was missing, that, in my opinion, from the feasibility study was the enhancement of educational programming. You can't talk about moving students into some place unless you are careful about what type of that program, what that looks like. And tonight I will share a little bit about what the programming will look like for our middle schoolers as we work with teachers and as we work with our administrative team and as we work with the community hearing feedback and deciding what's the best approach to make sure that we not only have engaged students, but enthusiastic students who are ready to make this transition. So again, the goal is to enhance STEM opportunities, to make sure that we have increased access to sports, athletics, and music. I hear music plays a pretty big role in this as well. And then lastly, make sure that there's other programs to prepare our students for college and careers. I believe together we will have not only increased academic achievement and outcomes, we'll have a more thriving student body if the board chooses to make this recommendation of moving our sixth grade students into the middle school environment. A lot of it has to do with fostering student success. What does that look like? What does that mean? Things are going to happen to students and teachers, and we need to make sure that we are planning to make sure that they not only have an outstanding transition, but that we are also anticipating some of the things that they'll need in order to be the great students that they are when they hit middle school. So at the heart of this transition is commitment to student success. One of the most compelling reasons to move in this direction is the ability to provide tailored support to our students in the critical middle school years. It's going to look different as our sixth graders go into middle school. Team teaching is something that is what I would propose, working with ETA and working with our teachers, a way to help our kids transition successfully into middle school. When you just throw them into middle school, like traditional, it can be overwhelming for families. We need to be very strategic on how we support our kids, and this is probably the biggest jump in their lives. The jump from elementary school to middle school is a bigger jump from middle school to high school, in my experience. Also, having students in smaller and team-based environment will increase not only morale, but support. Opportunity for peer-to-peer teaching and peer-to-peer learning will also be critical for our students at that time. We also plan to implement peer mentoring programs. One of the things I've been very impressed with is that we have outstanding counselors and outstanding support systems at our middle schools that I really think will help tremendously during this transition. And making sure that we have advisory periods to make sure that our students not only go to school, but they also know how to do school will be critical for our sixth graders. From an academic, but also from a personal point of view, to learn from trusted adults, ensuring that no child falls through the cracks. By offering these tailored supports, I believe our students not only will have a better chance to thrive in middle school, but we will be seeing the fruits of our labor with intentional and clear and concise planning.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
The smaller team-based learning environments, transitioning to a sixth or eighth grade model, is that for the sixth grade only, or is it six through eight?
I would still plan with my committee, but if you're asking me to give you an answer today, I would first start off with our sixth grade. These are students who are with one teacher for the majority of the day outside of specials and recess and those areas. To go from there to having a different teacher for every area can be overwhelming for kids. Team-based, you can possibly have a person do both English language arts and social studies. You can also have science and math. You can do more of teaming and have that initiation into middle school. Again, I would work very closely with our teachers and then with our community getting feedback. But I believe a team-based approach will be much more conducive for that type of transition leap. Remember, you're taking kids who are going to be a year younger than what they were supposed to be as they're making this transition. But we will have, you'll see in my timeline that, hey, we're going to make sure that we have those instructional programs, probably pretty aggressive, but have a tentative plan to you and to the community by January. No problem. Yes, ma'am.
So are you saying, I know like from previous experience, when my kids were in sixth grade,
Yes, ma'am.
our sixth grade ran in such a way where the kids had their, in fact, homeroom teacher, and then they would go to a different teacher for reading, math, social studies, science. Some of it was depending on what level they were for reading and math. So are you saying then for fifth grade, the current fifth graders now who will be sixth graders in the fall? So are you saying that we want to start that kind of a model now in a transition, maybe starting in January? Are you saying wait till I'm not kind of clear what you're getting
I'm
them
not saying-
prepared.
I'm only talking about middle school. I am not talking about anything that has to do with elementary right now. So for example, if we're talking about a student whose first day is in middle school, again, this is
As a sixth grader.
as a sixth grader. Again,
So this year's fifth graders.
yes,
Okay, that's
this year fifth graders who will be sixth graders next year.
right.
If you approve this resolution, I would believe a good model will be a team approach where they would have less teachers basically covering, because licensing, you can have someone K through 6, you can have them cover, math, you can have them also cover ELA, possibly. You would have less teachers, so you would have, like, instead of having the full gamut like your 7th and 8th graders, you would have less teachers for them to navigate, so they learn how to be successful middle schoolers. I think if you're in there and you say, hey, we're going to treat them just like we do the 8th graders and the 7th graders, one, it could lead to a staffing issue. And then two, it could be not really helpful for the child as they've gone from one teacher to now they have many. And so as we plan with the committee, and I will come back and obviously provide more clarity to that, I just don't want you to think these decisions are going to be made by me. It's going to be a collection of working really hard with our teachers and with our administrative team and with our community on what that should look like. But I really do believe team-based teaching will be helpful, and not co-teaching where they're in the classroom, but like having less teachers to deal with during that 6th grade year.
So does that like transfer?
Can you talk in the mic? I'm having a hard time hearing everybody.
Does that transfer to, okay, so we're talking about this year's 5th graders will be our next year's first 6th graders. So we bring them into small group cells to kind of get them acclimated, used to that whole transition, have a mentoring system with the 8th graders onto them. So now we have this year's 4th graders that will be next year's 5th graders. Do you prepare them to where they switch teachers in the 5th grade to get them ready for 6th grade? Do you get what I'm saying? Or do you continue that model every year as they transition into 6th grade?
I think we're
overthinking it probably, but I'm just wondering, like, is that how it works?
Again, I am not recommending that to you this evening.
Okay.
So that is not something
We're
that's,
just saying, let's get this going and then we'll figure all that out.
you're saying whatever you want to say.
Absolutely not. If this
I'm
is
just-
being recorded, I am not
I'm just
saying
trying to
whatever I
admit-
want to say.
I mean it with nothing but love. But no,
Mhm.
I really don't think we should really do anything down at that
Mhm.
level. It's
Okay.
it's too much too soon.
Okay, so then we'll just hold this conversation over and just move with this
Well,
for right now.
We're in a work
Yeah.
session, so we probably should
Yeah.
have it publicly now.
Right.
I have not explored that. I
Right.
have not talked to any of that with our team, any of those things. For the 6th grade
Right.
only, I would make that, hey, if we wanted to go that route, what steps what do we need to take? What do our teachers need in order to make sure that transition works well for them? What does that look like from a movement around the building? Where does that look like as far as location? So there's a lot of steps just to
Right.
get that 6th grade piece. I haven't even thought about what that looks like for as far as team teaching down in 4th and 5th grade. I've
Right,
not gone
right.
that far. So no, but those are all
Yeah.
wonderful questions.
Well, yeah,
and-
because I think it's great because the 6th graders now are flipping classes in all of our schools. So when they get there next year, they are kind of,
I don't know if that's the case though.
I'm not sure for all
don't know.
elementaries, like for example, like an elementary that I happen to know of,
Mhm.
they are switching classes right now. So at least they get that flavor, that taste right there. That's kind of what it's about, So,
And I think that's developmentally appropriate to do that. But we want to make sure every kid has that
Mhm.
experience, right? And right now, I can't say that's the experience for every one of our kids. So if we were to tackle that, we would say, hey, let's talk about that this year, making sure that next year that was the case, that all our 5th graders next year had, went back and forth between a math teacher and let's say an ELA teacher. So they're starting to get ready. I just can't stand in front of you today and say that's happening in every school. But I do believe that there are some benefits from that type of movement. So great. Those are actually great questions, Mrs. Mullins. Any other questions I can ask? And then I think that homeroom period that Ms. Bondrellen that you spoke about is going to be critical. One is for building relationships. Two, for making sure that they understand that what grading looks like, what they understand that what the homework expectations are. Also for they can check in, someone can intentionally check into with those students, because it's going to be a big jump for those fifth graders to make that leap. Over here, I think I've talked a lot about the efficient use of resources, but I would be remiss if I didn't say, by consolidating them into our sixth grade middle schools, it's going to change the dynamics of our middle schools. Next year, our middle schools will have two cohorts of kids who never have been in a middle school setting. So that's why it's important to make sure our planning is done and is done well. But think about all the things that will be available to our students once we do this. We're able to leverage specialized classrooms. And one of the things I'm very proud of when I walk around, I was at Northside the other day, is that they're building up their tech lab. And to be able to offer that to our sixth graders next year will be fantastic. I think it was on the top floor, it was on the right. Nice Apple room ready to go. Very proud of that. I think we have that also in a lot of our elementary schools as well. So our kids will be able to make that leap, but also offering our sixth graders a little bit earlier Project Lead Away. Also, when we get into an agreement with another, should you vote on this contract this evening with NGL and all those, I think it'll be very helpful for our kids to have much earlier exposures to those things that are for college and career. Streamlining staffing, deployment subject matters, and creating efficiencies. Like right now at the elementary level, there are sixth grade social studies. I would love for them to be able to learn that with their sixth grade peers and what that looks like. I'm sorry, with their sixth and seventh grade peers as well. Also achieving economy of scales and purchasing operating costs. One of the things that we need to consider when we do textbook adoptions and so forth, it's really hard when they're down at the elementary level, but you know that they need this textbooks when they're really at the middle school level. So we're sometimes making double purchases or maybe losing materials as they transfer over from one to the next. I really think that will be helpful as well. And then lastly, we can reallocate all those savings into enhancing the educational program and support services for our kids. So I would be remiss again if I didn't talk about, as we make these decisions, there are going to be some short-term costs that come with these things. Obviously, making sure our buildings are ready and up and ready to go to support all our students. But along the way, I do think it'll be a little bit financially advantageous, but I don't want that to be the primary reason. The primary reason is to drive academic instruction. Is to make sure that families choose Elkhart middle schools to go to. So tonight, I want to make several recommendations to the school board for you to ponder, to consider, and answer any questions that you have. I'm looking for your authority to start the phase one transition into the middle school model of 6 through 8 and shifting away from our junior high model. That is something that requires authorization from the board for me to go ahead and to start that process. So I wanted to at least give you this presentation tonight based off the recommendations that were provided before you a few years ago. And if you weren't here during that time, remind you that this is something that is needed and highly desired by our community to make sure that occurred. Also, I'm looking for I want to make sure the board is aware, if we do make that, there will be some investment in our facilities to make sure that they are ready to handle more students in our middle school areas. Again, we're going to be adding a decent amount of students to those 3 different schools. So we want to make sure that they have high quality classrooms, and that some classrooms will need retouched. Some classrooms will need to make sure that they are brought up to date. And that will be a huge lift from Mr. Giannessi and his team to make sure that they're ready to go. Lastly, I will be providing you monthly reports on building utilization on what that looks like as we look at what the feeder schools look like into those 3 different areas. And then lastly, focus on instructional programming. That's what I would want to know as a parent. What will the educational experience look like for my kid when they go to middle school? And so again, from this seat, from the superintendent's seat, I don't have all the answers today, but I do know that we will have committees that many of my cabinet members will be sitting on, to making sure that they have outstanding instructional experiences, that we also look at how we make sure that we can provide better transportation for efficiencies by we're making some big changes, but also how do we make sure that our students are not only prepared for, again, high school, but are prepared for post-secondary success. I was reading about Batesville, Indiana, and what the things that they've done in reshaping their middle schools. And I would strongly encourage anyone in this room to look at their partnerships that they've established. There's a few of those tenets that I will be utilizing for us here in Elkhart to kind of work along with our building leaders and our instructional team to make sure that we have our kids ready to not only run in middle school, but to really enjoy and have something to look forward to when they're there. And I don't want to spoil all that, because my team's like, well, what is he talking about? We'll have that conversation tomorrow during leadership team. Sorry. I'm sorry. Any questions regarding my recommendations? With all changes, there are some we do need to address some emerging barriers that could occur. I'm not saying that they are going to occur, but I would be remiss to say that these could not be issues that we face. One of the things that you'll see statewide, if you look at any type of state testing, is that typically there's some dips in academics state testing for sixth graders. So how do we prepare for that? So I put up a list of mitigating strategies, and I think that goes to Mrs. Mullins' point of preparing them before they get there to be ready. So I think at the second half of the year, because we know kids, they love to watch work sessions, so they're probably already preparing for middle school based off this conversation tonight. But if they're not, we're going to have some conversations with them to make sure they can make that transition. And so some of those mitigating strategies will be talking to them, obviously, what that will look like, but maybe mimicking some of those environments for him or her, and also looking at being consistent across all our middle school with that co-teach. Again, I'm using the phrase incorrectly. It's not co-teaching, but team teaching would be the correct phrase for that. Managing social pressures. You're now putting kids who could be as young as 11 into middle school situations. We need to understand that a kid who is 11 is very different than a kid possibly who is 12. So how do we make sure that him or her are successfully able to navigate the entry into a new place, a new space, and see a lot of new faces? And so that's where making sure that we are providing lots of support with counselors, lots of peer mentoring, pairing them up with other students that are inside the schools, but also making sure that our buildings are inviting to children, because they will be children that are coming into that. And I think that we have some opportunities to do that there. And then lastly, there are going to be some initial financial costs with restructuring. Our teams are going to do painting, looking at floors, adding some equipment to certain rooms to make sure that we can handle this transition. So I would be remiss if I did not tell the school board that those are going to be some of those initial considerations. Any questions regarding that? The most important piece, I think, is engaging the community across this during this year. It's fast. It's already September. And so if you think about all the things that happen, and we're just talking about moving one cohort of kids from here to here, all the things that need to happen for that to work and work well is going to require the collective efforts of everyone on my team, every member of the board, lots of feedback from our community, but also hearing from our families on what they want that middle school experience to be like. So here I put up a tentative community engagement timeline for you to look at. And the first things first, starting with you tonight, asking for the resolution to make this possible so we can begin that work. My next step in September will be also to engage with the staff. This is probably the worst kept secret in Elkhart Community Schools, that this is going to happen for next year. So we might as well not just dive into it. We need the support and the voices and the expertise of our teachers. So I would propose that we have forums and many different opportunities to hear from our staff on how to make sure that is done well. Also providing parent forums and going to not just where they're coming here to central office, having those at different locations where parents can tell us what they expect, what they experience, and what they need, and also what their concerns are. Having those fifth and sixth grade middle school visits will be key as well. So looking at, again, I put this as a placeholder in November as an opportunity for our fifth and sixth graders to visit middle schools. That's not a hard deadline, but I would think that if I'm a kid, I would want to hear about this sooner than later. And also it'd be kind of nice for them to go over that, hey, we're all going together, so let's let's go ahead and see what this looks like. And then having the middle school principals actually go talk to them in their schools. That's something when I spoke to one of the middle school principals, she said that we used to do that, but I haven't done that in a while. And she said that that would be actually nice and she would love to have that opportunity. So definitely, I think involving them, they're going to play a key and critical role of that. I do plan to come back to you in January with proposed plans for our instructional programs, as we will have a transportation committee, music committee, athletics completed in order to present to you what that plan will be. And also after tonight, I can share with you, should you choose to vote on one contract that we've been talking about for a little bit, you'll probably see the framework for the middle schools I can share with our community. But the goal is to update the community along the way, and then you can see the rest of the timeline. Also, another way that the community can be engaged, our website is going to play a very critical role. There will be FAQ documents on the website in multiple languages, so families who cannot make it to these events can see the conversations that are happening and can see how we are responding to all those questions and all those needs. Making sure that also we have a kind of like the community outings, and I know we have community members on this team who will help me to go set up places where we can actually engage with families there. So I really believe that there will be no excuse for saying that anyone didn't have an opportunity for input. We'll be here, we'll be there, we'll be everywhere, and also have a place where we can archive our information for FAQs. So I believe we can't over communicate enough of all the great things that are going to be happening for their children should we choose to make this resolution occur. Any questions regarding the communication and engagement timeline? I will tell you this is very ambitious to do in a year, but I think it can be done well if we stick to the timeline. Things that we need to think about for deliberation, though. Whenever we're looking at and we're trying to land something, and that's why I chose the image of the target, it's essential that we reflect on these key considerations that will shape our next steps. We first must prioritize student outcomes, student achievement. At the center of every decision we make, it should be about the kids. If it does not drill down to the students, we haven't had enough conversation yet. This transition isn't just about logistics. It isn't just about ensuring, it's about ensuring that every child, regardless of their background, has equal access to high quality education and support that he or she needs. We also need to remain focused on being academically excellent. It is not okay just to be okay in the classroom. What things can take the kids' experience from, as Jim Collins says, from good to great. And I believe that we have the teachers here in Elkhart Community Schools to provide outstanding experiences for our students. This goal of transition is to restructure our grade levels and enhance the learning experiences of all students. That means rigorous instruction. That means targeted interventions. That means continuous evaluation to ensure that students are on not just the right path, but the best path because they are in Elkhart Community Schools. We are the best school district in the state of Indiana. Let's show everybody that we are. We've heard the concern of stakeholders for years that they haven't seen movement in our school system. That ends once you make this phase one recommendation at a time that's convenient for you, but hopefully that time is soon because there's a timeline we just published. We need to make sure that that happens. We've listened to them, and now it's time for some action. This process has been a collaborative effort and will remain responsive to our feedback from parents, teachers, and to our community members. It's important to maintain a culture of collaboration throughout this process. By working together, everyone in this room, with our parents and our community partners, I believe we can ensure not only this transition goes well, but again, who is the ultimate benefit of our collaboration? It's our students. So moving forward, the things that I am asking for you to think and to ponder and to think about, and I would like to come back to you on September 24th for official resolution, is that I would like for you to look at a phase movement up for our 6-8 transition. When I say phase, there's going to be certain parts I'm going to be revealing to you over the course of the year, not waiting to the end of the year and springing it on the community. We're going to do this for athletics. We're going to be very transparent along the way of where we are. Not making decisions without the input of people, I think, is one of the most dangerous things that you can do from any seat that you sit. So I want to make sure that there's plenty of opportunity for our families and for our community and for our community partners to walk alongside of us to making sure that this goes well. So this recommendation that I'm presenting today to the 6-8 model will be starting for the 2025-2026 school year. This approach is necessary to upgrade our facilities, and we need to make sure that we use the rest of our year to align our curriculum to support this transition without overwhelming our resources. Our commitment to student success and well-being is at the heart of this recommendation. By transitioning to a 6-8 model, we can offer expanded opportunities, more robust electives, and enhance support for students during these crucial developmental years. I want to emphasize again, this is not just about logistics. This is not about moving children from one building to the next. It is about creating a lifetime of learners and a lifetime of students who are going to receive not just, again, outstanding experiences, but they're choosing Elkhart Middle Schools because they know that no other place can do it better than we can, and we will. So now I'm asking for the board's support and for your approval. And after I receive your endorsement and when I come and ask for it officially, we can move forward with much more detailed implementation plans and continue to work collaboratively to bring this vision to life. And at this time, I will answer any questions that you have.
I just want to make some clarifications because I think you've referenced sixth graders and fifth graders, and I know how sometimes people will say, "Oh, it's sixth and fifth grade that's transitioning." To be clear, this transition model is for sixth grade, and the students that will be first transitioning are currently fifth graders.
That is correct, President Scott.
So I want to be clear, but I think someone could get confused and saying, "Well, I heard fifth graders are going to." No, they're currently fifth graders. They'll be going into the sixth grade next year.
We'll be shifting to a K-5 instructional model like the rest of Indiana, and then our middle schools will be 6 through 8.
Okay. So I think that's important. And to your point, it will be the existing fifth graders this year and sixth graders this year. Those cohorts will be going together for the very first time. But after that, it will just be sixth grade. Fifth grade going to the sixth grade. Fifth grade going to the sixth grade.
Okay, he's saying like you're saying when they go to visit the school, this
One time.
specific timeline, one time will be fifth and sixth grade.
Right,
After that, our fifth graders are the ones
Correct.
that begin to visit the
Correct.
junior high.
correct.
You're
Okay.
very well said, Ms. Mellon.
Thank you. So a follow-up question, to this. This is a phase transition model, 6th through 8th grade.
Yes.
And you mentioned phase 1 today, but you've also, your recommendation is to invest in the facility improvements, optimize building utilization,
Yes.
and focus on instructional programming for this 6th through 8th model.
Yes.
When we approve the resolution, will all those be considered phase 1, or will there be a phase 2 that you'll need to come back to us with, or phase 3? Or are you, when you speak of phases, it's more of a transparent communication? We will tell you along the way everything that's happening in this process, but it's only going to be one resolution we'd be approving.
That is correct. But I also, I'll be back to you next year talking about some other things as well. And that'll be phase 2. We'll have some different conversations.
Correct.
But I do want the community to see how we move, how we operate, how we're transparent about things. And then once we have enough information, that's when you go to the community and you have those conversations. So when I say a phase transition, so for example, I want to talk to the teachers in September. I'm looking around. Hey, how you doing? I want to talk to teachers, get their input. I don't want to collect everyone's input and then come back to the board. Hey, I've spoken to all the individuals in the community. Here you go. I want you to prove it at that time. So each week from this point moving forward, you'll probably see my face come up here and give you some feedback based off the meetings that we've had.
It's
So that's what I mean by
a
for that.
phased communication structure with
That is
all
correct.
stakeholders.
And that's why I
involved.
was that's why I was on the communication engagement page, because we can't do that all in one time, in one fell swoop.
And our community collaboration committee continues?
It does.
Okay. And so that's something important too, that the public has kind of spoken out about, wondering about what we called originally the feasibility committee, and then it moved to the collaboration committee. So their work is still continuing, and this is what we landed at for our first conversation with them. And our conversation will continue with them, allowing us to be guided by them and our community.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you, Ms. Mullins. And we meet with them on a monthly basis
Right.
on all those.
A monthly basis.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What other questions do you have?
Done a really good job.
And so if there are no more questions, I'm going to get off the hot seat and I'm going to actually take my real seat. So thank you for allowing me to present to you tonight. And I look forward to answering any other questions you may have. In 2 weeks, I would like to come back and offer an official resolution to make sure that you're in an approval of this, and then let the work begin.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
That's the only thing on the work session. So we will end the work session and reconvene at 7 o'clock for our normal board meeting.
I won't sit down.
Oh.
Want to be my friend?
The new course, or the new diplomas, they basically took some stuff out of there about government.
Why you gotta be petty?
Stuff.
That works.
Right.
Well, they
The last question I had. What you saying?
You ready? All right, we can wait. Yeah.
Karen, you were talking about the Declaration of Independence. That's it, yeah, Mike's right. Yeah.
I'd like to call the September 10th, 2024 Elkhart Community Schools School Board meeting to order. If everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge. You may be seated. Thank you. Ms. Davis, the Elkhart Promise.
Every student is known by name, challenged, and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community, will graduate college, career, and life ready.
Our invitation to speak protocol, I think most everybody that attends regularly knows it, but for those who do not, all agenda and non-agenda items may be discussed at the beginning of this meeting. Under the public comment section, you'll have 3 minutes to state your concerns or discuss what you want to discuss. Please come to the podium and speak into the mic, announce your name and your relationship with the school. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. Because of Family Rights and Privacy Act, we ask that any personnel issues or issues with students, please, this is not the opportunity to bring those forward. We have a policy and protocol within the district to address those, and please do that under public comment. As a board, we do not have the ability to respond or ask questions back, so it's really not the right forum to address those concerns. Should have been one of these on everyone's seat. There is the little form here. You could fill out your name and your organization you represent and bring those to Dora, and she will give those to me, and I'll call you up one at a time. So now, with that said, we will open the floor to public comment. Do we have any? Anybody not have a chance to fill it out? Okay. No public comment for tonight's meeting. We will move into the excellence of Elkhart. Ms. Wagler.
All right. Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, and the community. I want to start off by just saying thank you so much for allowing me to come each week and to be able to share all of the excitement and the exciting highlights that we have. So first of all, in the last 2 weeks, in academics, Elkhart High School offers students an amazing internship opportunities. They pair our talented students with local business partners such as Lake City Bank, Noah's Landing, Thor, Everwise Credit Union, Professional Dental Lab Corp, National Sales, and many other business partners. Our students are able to explore future career pathways through the support of those community partners. And at our elementary schools this week, Wonder Wheels BMX stunt team went to both Monger and Beardsley Elementaries for their bully prevention kickoff. And the message was clear. In order to achieve your goals and dreams, you have to work hard, never give up, and always treat others with respect, dignity, and kindness. The world is a better place when we focus on our dreams and treating people how we want to be treated. And we had 12 Elkhart High School students attend the Herff Jones Legacy Leadership Summit in Purdue, Fort Wayne this past week. And it was a great opportunity for them to collaborate with 16 other schools, learn and practice leadership skills, and hear from a phenomenal presenter about empowerment and team building. And then all the schools in attendance worked on making an action plan for a specific area of their school. And that plan was meant to leave a legacy for others to follow. And then they got to present their plans to their peers. In arts, the Lions United Music at Elkhart High School is one of our district's greatest beacons of inclusion, community, and support. It's where neurotypical student musicians are grouped with students who live with disabilities, and with the help of highly qualified instructors, work together to create beautiful music. And we can't wait to see and hear what they do throughout this semester and school year. And the Elkhart Theater program announced their fall play and held auditions for Game of Tiaras. It's a mashup of Disney princesses and Game of Thrones. So that should be very interesting. Be on the lookout for more details about the production dates and times so that you can attend those. And for athletics, the Elkhart Lions football team hosted the Northridge Raiders in their first home season opener and finished with a strong win, and followed that up with an enormous win against Washington this past Friday. So keep up the great work. They are Elkhart strong, and we are proud of the work that they've been doing. And then we had over 200 Elkhart Community School elementary students compete. 200 in this season's first cross-country meet. And they had another one last night, so I haven't heard how that went, but keep following them to track their progress throughout the year. And last but not least, here's some future happenings around the district. Tomorrow is the Fall High Ability Family Night, September 19th, e-learning days. September 25th, Junior and Senior College Fair. September 28th is the Con Summer 150th Anniversary Marching Band Competition that we get to host. And October 11th is Homecoming. And as always, you can stay up to date by following us on our social medias. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to say something. Every weekend before we have our board meeting, we get the board packets sent to us, and I usually takes 2.5 hours to get through them. Like this last packet was 163 pages. Where I start now, I flip right to it happens to be page 25, and I start with the excellence of Elkhart, just to get me in the right state of mind to get through the other 140 odd pages. So I want to thank you for doing this. I truly look forward to this in our board packet each week. So you're doing a great job.
Thank
so
you. I love that. And I love that it helps to focus on the mission of the kids and educating the students.
And I'd like to add too, and maybe you can even put this on a page or throw it all over the place. The Elkhart Band is actually looking for volunteers for the Con Summer. And if you volunteer before midnight on Thursday, you get the most fantastic free shirt. It's a great shirt. And I mean, and think about it. It's like a 100 celebration. So like you're not going to get this shirt in 101 years, just in 150, not in 151 years, just 150. So if you volunteer, and the shifts are amazing. There's like one from 5 to 9 that you're just like a person that helps and you run around all over the place. There's concession stands full, by the way. There's also moving some musical instruments around. But if you get on their page, there's a link. And if we can post that link, it would be phenomenal if we supported them and allowed the band parents to just participate. So by Thursday at midnight, you get a free shirt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have the consent items. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have any comments or discussions from the board?
We
Ms.
sure
Mullins?
do. We have a $10,000 donation from the Community Foundation on behalf of the McCumber Family Fund, and that's for our construction trades program, which has a new teacher this year. That's very exciting. We have $10,000 to the Elkhart High School Athletic Department from our own Phyllis Tubbs to go towards our athletes. We had $710 for our Elkhart High School girls soccer team from the Elkhart Athletic Club to grow the soccer team, and $1,400 to our Elkhart High School girls basketball team from the alumni game that was hosted. Hannah Trinidad and the family donated a universal engine test stand, which is worth $2,500. And it's pretty cool for them to have that in the diesel program because it allows them to have like an insight into another way of testing the engines. And then we only had one retirement, and that's Kristen Van Zyl, and I might be pronouncing her last name wrong, and I apologize for that. But she is a para at Mary Feeser, 29 years. 29 years of being a paraprofessional. That is phenomenal. So we say goodbye to her and thank her very much. And maybe she could just give a nudge to all of our other paras that it's important to make to that 29-year or 30-year mark, and they get a free shirt. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But thank you. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Mullins. I have a motion. Well, do you have any other discussion? Seeing or hearing none, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, we
Roll
do.
call.
I'm sorry. Roll call. Mr. Blyoter, I was looking down at your picture and I should have known that. Roll call, please.
Jeff Blyler,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
Mike Burnett.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to old business. Mr. Thorne, we have board policy 2623, test administration and security.
Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. Tonight, the administration is presenting and actually seeking approval this evening for proposed revisions to the policy that governs district expectations for the administration of statewide assessments. These revisions focus on enhancing security measures for handling testing materials and outline new expectations for topics to be covered in mandatory training sessions that are to take place before any statewide assessment is administered. Seeking your approval again this evening.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any board comments or discussion? Hearing none. Dora, roll call, please.
Jeff Blyler,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
and Mike Burnett.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have board policy 3220, teacher appreciation grant.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. The administration is requesting approval of a proposed revision to the district's policy governing the annual distribution of teacher appreciation grant funds to eligible teachers. The proposed revision changes the date for submission of this policy to the Indiana Department of Education from September the 15th to September the 13th. Seeking your approval tonight.
Thorne, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion or questions? Hearing none. Dora, roll call, please.
Jeff Blyler,
Aye.
Daisy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
Mike Burnett.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. On to new business. Board policy 5200, student attendance. Mr. Thorne.
This evening, the administration is presenting for initial consideration proposed revisions to our student attendance policy to ensure that the district will be in compliance with Senate Enrolled Act 282. These revisions introduce a truancy prevention procedure for students in grades K through 6 who accumulate 5 unexcused absences within a 10-week period. This procedure includes sending home notices to parents outlining their responsibilities related to attendance, holding a mandatory conference with the student's parents within 5 school days after the 5th absence, and during that conference, developing a plan to prevent further absences. These changes, combined with the district's current absences of concern procedures, will work together to tackle the academic challenges that can arise from student absences. These proposed changes, as I previously noted, are for your preliminary review with intention to seek board approval on September the 24th.
Mr. Thorne, I do have a quick question on the
Yes.
agenda tonight. We have administration guidelines 5200 listed on student attendance listed twice. One's for, it says initial consideration. One is for initial review. I just want to confirm that they are one and the same. Or they are not.
Let me look at the agenda.
One's an administrative
Yeah, you've got an
guideline.
administrative guideline and, which we haven't gotten to yet. You have proposed administrative guideline 5200, which is an accompanying guideline to the policy.
Yep, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. So the next one is the guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's also for initial
You
review,
were
though.
testing me there. I was getting
Yes.
confused myself. Okay, moving on to the administrative guideline, if I may. This evening, we are presenting these proposed revisions to the guidelines for consideration. These proposed revisions will provide further guidance to our buildings related to the implementation of this truancy prevention procedure, and also provide for more consistent procedures for the approval of family trips that might take place during the school term. Again, this is brought to you tonight just for preliminary consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have administrative guidelines 2623 testing program.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. The administration is presenting this evening for preliminary consideration proposed revisions to this administrative guideline. The proposed revisions primarily address the use of IREAD 3 results in decisions related to retention as required by Senate Enrolled Act 1, but also make reference to other means by which we can use student performance data. Again, bringing this for preliminary consideration this evening.
Questions or concerns from the board? All right, moving on to the 2024-2025 school calendar.
Thank you. President Scott, board members, Dr. Huff, the administration is presenting this evening for preliminary review a proposed revision to the calendar for the 2024-25 school year. The proposed revision is limited to establishing the expectation that students taking the SAT on March 5th would be physically present in their building so that they can actually take that test on that particular date.
Questions or concerns?
The e-learn day is like no students in school. That's just a staff day, correct? That's on
yeah.
this month, correct?
Yes,
19th,
on the 19th, students would be attending remotely on those days. So they're still
Staff in
engaged,
school.
but staff would be
Okay.
reporting.
I was
on
getting
both
confused.
those.
It's a staff
Okay.
PD day.
Staff
Yes.
PD day. And then with the calendar committee, can we ever, this is just throwing it out there, can we ever consider possibly
Kelly?
having Good Friday off?
Thank you.
That is
Just
certainly,
a question just out in the air, just grab
there's
it
no
at
reason
some
why the
point.
calendar
Yeah,
committee
just
could not take
consider
that into consideration.
Good Friday, yeah,
Yes.
that would be awesome.
Any other questions or comments?
In March, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all right, because they're in the color, it says 3/5 e-learning days, but the 3rd and the 4th are not colored in.
I'm sorry,
March 5th.
it's just March 5th.
Oh, okay, all right. I guess March.
It's a little bit difficult to read with the coloring.
March is the 3rd month.
Yes. And we'll bring this back for your final review in 2 weeks.
Next on the agenda, we got the recommendation for award. Mr. Giannessi.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff. Tonight, the administration recommends award of a contract to Core Construction of Cherville, Indiana for the addition and renovations project at the Elkhart Area Career Center.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any discussion or questions from the board?
Anticipated completion date.
December 31st of 2025.
Do I have any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm so sorry, because I know we've done a lot of building. We've done building with Core before?
This is our first project.
Okay.
Well, actually second. The Diesel Tech project that you approved a few weeks ago is the
That's what I
first.
was- Okay.
Laura, roll call, please.
Jeff Blyler,
Aye.
Stacy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
Mike Burnett.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, we have recommendation for award for the addition and renovation project for the Elkhart High School Health and Strength Project.
President Scott, members of the board, Dr. Huff, tonight the administration recommends award of a contract to Core Construction of Cherville, Indiana for the addition and renovations project for the Elkhart High School Health and Strength Project.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the board?
December 31st, 2025.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Dora.
Jeff Blyler,
Aye.
Stacy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
Mike Burnett.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Giannessi. Next, we have Mr. Quiet. We have resolution of the Board of School Trustees, this is long, of Elkhart Schools taking action regarding a proposed First Amendment to lease and approve the issue of bonds by the Elkhart Community School Building Corporation and matters related thereto.
Thank you, President Scott, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Huff. We've got a few things to do before I ask you to approve that resolution. Max is here with us as legal bond counsel, just to make sure we check all these boxes before we move forward. But we need to have a public hearing for additional appropriations, amendment of a lease on the projects that I'll talk about briefly, and I believe that's it, right? And with that, we would allow for public comment, and then I would ask that the board approve this resolution as provided in the board packet. So I guess, do we open it for a
You need to suspend, this
I
meeting.
will suspend our normal board meeting at this time and open it up to public hearing regarding this resolution.
Thank you. So just a brief background on these proposed projects. This would be lease series B and C. As Mr. Giannessi just asked for, you just unanimously approved the wellness center. That was lease A that we sold earlier in the year. So these projects, both bonds would be $6.35 million each that we would be looking to sell, the maximum of 6.35, and with the goal of touching all of our buildings in the district. In the past, we've used these bonds to do major projects, maybe at one building or an addition. We've heard the need or seen the need to kind of update the look across the district and just make sure that all our families feel welcome in a warm learning environment when they walk into every building. And so that involves lighting, floors, carpet, paint, those sorts of things. So really the aesthetics. I always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? You should feel a certain level of standard when you walk into a building. And so we're really going to focus the dollars across the district to do those things. As Dr. Huff mentioned in your working session, obviously the middle schools will be a primary focus next year. And so those will have 3 series of bonds, that financing strategy that we've used for many years now, or with those 3 series of bonds will be focused on the middle school for those next sales. So there's a really primarily focus on the elementaries. There'll be some work at the middle schools. We need to make sure we're not mingling those projects or artificially separating work there from a legal standpoint. We also have the opportunity with these to purchase some buses, as we've talked about with our cash flow. In the past few months, we've got some buses that have come on that kind of eats into the operations fund. So I thought it'd be prudent, as we were kind of working through managing that, and as we realize some savings, give us a little relief in that fund, as well as the curricular materials. We're able to purchase curricular materials. As we all know, the state of Indiana moved that from a self-funded or self-contained fund that was supported through families and charging families. We no longer do that. That funding now comes from the state, and it will be blended into the education fund starting next year. And so again, this will give us an opportunity to update some curriculums that are needed, while also kind of taking some financial obligations off of the education fund as we focus our efforts in the classroom and making sure that we're being good stewards of those dollars. So I think it's really exciting that we can use this money to kind of touch all buildings and really improve the district across the board. The tax rate would remain neutral. So there would not be an increase in the overall tax rate for Elkhart County or Elkhart Community Schools. That would remain at 91.97 would be our targeted rate that we would, with the issue of these bonds. Still leaving capacity for next year, again, as with that 3 lease or 3 bonding model that we've been utilizing over the past years. And I think it's a great opportunity for the district. If there's any questions, happy to answer those, or we can open up for comment.
The question, 2024B and 2024C are both being used for the multi-facility renovations?
Yes, so specifically, B will have the buses placed in that, C will have the curriculum materials, and we will separate those, but the way that it's written allows us to figure out kind of where those project costs lands. Mr. Giannessi and his team are working hard to identify those and start to put some good cost estimates behind those. Yes.
His buses, C is curriculum. I like what you did there.
I did. I just
Yep.
wrote that
Lucky
down.
it worked out
Yeah,
that
it worked out perfect.
I like that.
Job well done, Zach.
So Zach, I've got a question. So page 3, it's talking about the First Amendment to the lease, and it lists 3 buildings. And I guess I'm confused on, it's only going to be 1.
Correct.
So
Yes.
can you walk me, I don't quite understand all the legalese as I was working through that. If people could see my things, you'd be like crazy. Can you just kind of walk us through that and what is happening and why we've listed a potential of 3, but we're picking 1, but we don't know which one?
Yes. So I guess we'll start with state statute. It caps us on general obligation that we can issue as a school corporation. And so a legal mechanism to in that is these mortgage bonds, which leases your property, and we have a building corporation that functions in that capacity that leases that and gets these proceeds. And so that's where that lands. And to do that, you have to, they're going to appraise these properties, and whichever of those 3, we'll choose whichever one we're going to do the most work in is why those 3 are there today. Those are 3 available that we could lease. As we finalize or get these projects narrowed down, we're going to give their team that building, and we'll choose 1 of those 3. So right now they're just getting an initial appraisal of those 3 buildings and kind of that initial working of an appraisal together, if that makes sense. Or I could, maybe bond counsel can give us a little clear explanation of that.
Good evening, board. My name is Max Adams with the law firm of Barnes & Thornburg, bond counsel for the Series A and now the Series B and C bonds. To the question of why we're looking at leasing additional building, when you do first mortgage bonds, these lease rental bonds, the value of the leased asset typically should more or less equal the value of what the bonds are. So right now we're on, it's been a few amendmental leases. We're looking at doing an A, B, and C series now. We're looking to add additional lease premises in order to match the value of those bonds. As to why those 3 particular, I think it's because those 3 buildings aren't currently owned by the building corporation. So they're still technically, if you look up the property records, they're still in the school corporation's name. And so they're eligible to be sold from the school corporation to the building corporation for leasing. So to answer that particular question.
I understand you.
Sure.
Because the building corporation owns the buildings, because we have bonds already on these buildings.
We
is that
do,
what we're saying?
yes.
And so what we're doing is we're adding additional dollars to what's owed, that will be owed. So that's going to, in effect, extend our years of,
So we're adding value to the lease premises.
so you're adding value.
So if you think of
And-
what the 2024A bonds were leased under, take that, and I apologize, I'm not sure what the current
No, that's
lease
okay.
premises is.
I'm just trying to
but-
get it straight
Sure,
in my
yeah.
mind, follow it through.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing then is we'll be increasing our payment that we've normally made on that particular
Lease premises.
lease
Yep.
premises to this for a period of time.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's just a mechanism for the,
For assigning the bonds to a building.
exactly.
Okay.
Just for clarification, we just need one of the three buildings for for these series.
Yes, because we're going to extend the lease of the Feeser building, I believe. So there's, yeah, so it's just one new, yes.
Any other questions?
Public comment that we need to
Do we
allow.
have any public comment regarding this resolution? Seeing or hearing none? I think this will end our public hearing section, and I will reinstate our normal board meeting.
Thank you. And then I would ask that the board now approve the resolution of the Board of School Trustees of the Elkhart Community Schools, Elkhart County, Indiana, taking action regarding proposed First Amendment to lease and approving the issuance of the bonds by the Elkhart Community School Building Corporation and matters related hereunto.
Very good. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none. Dora, roll call, please.
Jeff Blyther,
Aye.
Stacy Davis,
Aye.
Troy Scott,
Aye.
Doug Weaver,
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen,
Aye.
Kelly Mullins,
Aye.
and Mike Burnett.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, getting near the end here. Dr. Huff.
It's been a busy couple weeks since we've been together as a group, as a family. Tomorrow I have the privilege of speaking in front of the chamber at bright and early at 8 a.m. to talk about all things Elkhart Community Schools. So I'm looking forward to that. Anytime you get an opportunity to share with our business community all the ways that we are making an impact here in our school district, I think certainly we should take advantage of that. So I look forward to that. Tomorrow, I want to turn to a little bit more serious note. I also want to extend just some, I don't want to just say thoughts and prayers to our families down in Appalachia, Georgia. They're our educational family down there. They had a horrific shooting that happened a couple weeks ago. A week ago in their schools. Anytime that there's any loss in the community is never the same ever again. I encourage our families here to have conversations with our children to make sure that we're keeping safe items at home, that we're keeping things secure in our houses. If you don't know that the city will provide gun storage for you free of charge. I want our kids to be able to come to school to feel safe, to feel protected and loved. And most importantly, I want our staff to feel the same as well. So we have a lot of things in place in school. Any support that we can get from families to make sure those things don't come into our schools, I greatly appreciate it. It's not just tragic. 4 young lives gone before they even had a chance to start. So I have kids close to that age, so it hits me personally. But anything that we can do here from a school to educate our families, I think that we have a civic duty to do those things. So just if you're listening tonight, please make sure that we are taking care of our personal things at home and making sure that our kids come back same way they got here, safe and sound. On a little bit more positive note, I wanted to also talk about our unified flag football team. They had a victory over East Noble the other day, 26-14. So Awesome job. And then boys tennis, 6-1 start. Very proud of our boys tennis team. I think I still got a little McEnroe in me a little bit, so I will gladly take on none of them. But I look forward to seeing them play this week. Very proud of the start. I think they're actually ranked. So again, and also the football team did a wonderful job. But look forward to definitely all the great things that we have going on athletically and musically and academically here in Elkhart. It's a privilege to serve as your superintendent. And I just want to say we're going to keep on going. Excellent place to be. I'm turning back over to you, President Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. I learned a little something about you each week. A little macaron. Did not
a
know
little
that.
macaron in me, a little bit. You could tell in my presentation style every once in a while.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any questions, comments, final thoughts from the board?
Yeah, I'd just like to share, I know at the last couple of meetings, we've talked a lot about literacy and what the school district is doing and the investments that they're making with resources and in staff to help get our teachers licensed in the science of reading. But one thing I wanted to focus on is what parents can do when it comes to literacy. I think that that's one thing that we can do a better job of communicating with parents on ways that they can help their children with their schooling and learning to read. We all know that reading is foundational to their educational journey. And so a couple of things I wanted to share with parents tonight is there's lots of resources out there for you. And the Elkhart Public Library sent out a magazine this fall that has a ton of information, activities, programming for all different age groups that you can take part in and learn. So I would encourage parents to look into those. Crossroads United Way has become the local area partner for the Imagination Library. And for those of you that are not familiar with that, that is the library that was founded by Dolly Parton. And it's available in our county, thanks to the United Way in the state of Indiana, to get books into kids' hands from birth to 5 years old. So every month, if your family registers your child, you will receive one book a month. And that is great opportunity for parents to build family libraries for their children and just get them to read and learn and partake as a family in reading and bring the joy of reading to their kids. Another resource that is available to parents, the IDOE has partnered with the Indiana Learning Lab. You can go on their website under the Parent Hub, and there's all kinds of educational resources by grade level, by topic, videos, trainings you can do, ideas to give you information on how you can help your kids, whether it's reading, math, science, social studies, their health and well-being. So I encourage you to take some time to get to know those resources that are out and available to you. And then for me personally, there's a program that I have been I started using about 12 years ago as a parent who had struggling readers and was tutoring kids who were struggling readers, and it's called The Secret Stories. And so I would encourage parents, if you're interested, you can reach out to me. Also, they have a website called The Secret Stories. It's all based on brain science and science of reading, and it's really a way to make connections with kids with reading and bringing the code to them that makes sense to them. So as we go forward in the rest of the school year, I would encourage parents, please take 15 minutes every night and have your child read to you or read to them, because if you do that, in the course of a school year, that's 36 hours of extra reading that they would get. And every minute is very valuable, especially at the younger ages. So I just wanted to share those for parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Vondervellen. Anybody else? No? Kelly? Daisy?